Hey everyone, hi. I hope you can hear me. We're gonna do something newer today. I hope everyone's doing well. Cool. Okay, so I got the music system working, so hopefully we have some better music at this point. But we'll work on that. But another thing I do want to try is, I missed the countdown. Okay, we're actually gonna stop, pause, and I love this part of the stream, so I'm gonna have to do it. Oh, we'll be right back. Yeah, no, I had to do that. I just love the countdown. It's my favorite part about streaming, not gonna lie to you, is legitimately just the countdown. But yeah, so I decided to do this part as a newer introduction, is that I feel like this will help people get to know me, as well as get more comfortable asking questions. So first things first is I'm gonna lower this music a bit so you guys can definitely for sure hear me. So hey, I'm Kev. I'm a coach at Major League Hacking. I use the he, him, his pronouns. I do a lot of different things if you're talking about anything. Legitimately, counting down is my favorite part of the stream. So let's see. So let's enter our first mode. Cool. Yeah. So I did not catch that. That's actually crazy. Yes, you can see me now. I was gonna go over the slides real quick. But someone mentioned Ryan. I'm gonna have to pull the footage for that. I can't believe Ryan actually played an instrument live. We'll find that later. So today, if you have not, make sure to check in. Let me drop the check-in link for you guys one more time. I know the countdown is my favorite part. I love it. So that is the check-in link for you guys to sign in and check in. We're about to get started. Let's actually hop in this game. I love my backdrop, so it's going. If you can hear the music through like a feedback, let me know. I got it working, but it's definitely not optimal. There's could be a tiny bit of feedback. I see a lot of familiar names in chat. If you don't know, today we're just going to be really going over. Yeah, I know. I hate the default music built in, so I got the other system to work today. Oh, okay. We might watch that live on stream for a second, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna grab that, and we might watch that live on stream. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab that, and let's see. I actually can't believe he did it, because I did not even know. He didn't let me know he was gonna do it. I sent him the picture. It was like, hey, I got that. Everyone wants to play an instrument, but I did not think he actually did it. Let me see. Hold on. Let me pop in the chat. Hey, 404, you want to drop that link one more time? So I can actually copy it this time. And then we're gonna watch it live on stream real quick. If you did not know, yesterday, actually, let me pull it. It was actually the most shocking thing ever. We played Chrome Dino, and we actually did amazing in Chrome Dino. I never played Chrome Dino, I promise you, but it turned out great. Here is yesterday's stream. Open the link, yes. So we're gonna go to this screen. Okay, cool. So this is yesterday. We hit over 10K in Chrome Dino as a run. Perfect. So now I can grab that link, and we're actually gonna go take a look. Let's see. And then we'll get started right after that. Let me do that. Grab this chat. Yes, we're gonna do Replit Python programming. Actually, let's get this started. I did pull up the clip. If you have not, go ahead and create a Replit account. It's just replit.com. Replit is a free online resource for you to do all your programming in. Let me disable that. All the dings are not appreciated. Disconnect. Cool. But yeah, so we're gonna be using Replit. I'm going to drop the chat. Replit is also one of our few sponsors for Global Hack Week. It's a really quick way to code and do sandboxes and do playgrounds in, so I highly recommend it. The second you just go create an account. It's completely free for student. That's a really unique resource. As you guys sign up for your Replit account so you can get ready for our Global Hack Week, October's introduction to Python, I'm going to still pull up that clip. So once you're ready, just hit, once you're in, also just hit create. Create WebPel or Replit, whatever. Then you do template. You want to use Python as a language. Name it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Global Hack Week October Introduction to Python. I own it and just hit create, and that will generate a whole entire file system for you to be able to use, right? So you get a whole file system. You get your Git if you want. You get your console and everything. It's a really cool place. You have a whole shell. We're going to start with this Python file. I'm going to wait for everyone to catch up to this point. And as you guys see that, I'm going to pull up that Twitch clip. Twitch.tv. The unfortunate thing is I just realized I can't copy directly from chat. It's actually the most unfortunate thing ever. So I am going to have to type that URL in myself. So I'm going to do that real quick. Twitch.tv. UY-0S-N2HLECK7YGX1H. Cool. So as you'll get that ready, I'm going to mute this, close this, open this. Okay, and I'm going to drop this link in here. So I'm pretty sure this is from an earlier stream, right? Check Discord. I already typed the whole link in. If you guys drop me it, I do appreciate it. Let's see. Yes. Oh, well, maybe this link will be helpful because apparently I can't type.
Oh, and let's go back to that.
That's crazy.
Again, it's playing something constantly.
That's actually insane. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But let's actually get going with today's agenda. We're gonna be doing Replit. So has everyone gotten a Replit account yet? I'm gonna put back on the music. We're gonna try a different. Let's try. Actually, this is not bad. We'll go with this. Cool. Okay, cool. So we're going to go over some of your basics in Python, right? So again, this is beginner friendly. If you're a professional, feel free to give us any tips, hints, whatever. I never think I'm good at anything. So I'm like maybe intermediate at Python. So first thing is let's go over data objects in Python. So what is Python first? Python is a scripting language. It's an interpreted language that can be used as a scripting language. So how it's different is there's two types of language structures. One is interpreted, one is compiled. Interpreted language, essentially, there's an interpreter that's already been built, and it reads each line of code line for line. So as long as you have an interpreter installed on your computer, you can run that file. A compiled language will take your code, compile together into an executable file, and then run it from there. So Python is interpreted language, which essentially means is we can write the lines of code here if we do anything with it. Also, what also means is if you have the interpreter installed, I'm gonna make this actually F11. I'm gonna zoom in. So if you have Python installed in your console, you can always do Python 3. Well, I meant my shell, I guess. Yes. So you can always do Python 3 and bring up the actual interpreter, which you can do anything you want with. So that being said, for example, I can do print, and then you can do hello world. This is truly meant to be a beginner-friendly workshop, so we're going to go over a few things. So in Python, there's a few different type of data objects, right? So you have integers. Integers are your such thing as numbers, right? So I'm going to first do comments. For comments in Python, you can do this. Then you think it's star backslash. Is more than one star? I am so jolly. Oh, okay. Is it? Okay, that's not what it is. This. Is it actually? Do I should? I haven't done Python so long. So I thought it was / star, and then it's star / No. Okay, that's okay. For comment in Python, you can just do this. So there are a few things in Python. You have your integers. Integers are such thing as numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you have your next type of data type, which is floats. Floats are objects such as 1.1. Anything with a decimal is a float. Following that, you have your strings. I can't spell. string. So strings. See, I have hardware check. It's the best thing in my life. If you guys don't have it, I highly recommend you getting it. But yeah, so strings are such thing as any type of word, right? So anything in quotes. Quotes indicate we're initializing or declaring a string. And then anything here that's the string, right? So a string could be just the word hello. It could be a whole sentence like, what are you doing today? So those are strings. Following that, we have something called lists, which we might look at depending on how far we get today. So lists are essentially a more complex structure. What they allow you to do is store any of your other basic structure as structure. So such as you can have multiple integers in a list and stuff like that. Another thing I almost forgot is your booleans, right? So booleans are essentially true false values. So you have such thing as true or false. Those are booleans. Let's see. And then following that, you have such things called dictionaries. And then for people who are coming from maybe a different language, what a dictionary is essentially it is a hash map, essentially. Also, ask me any, actually, no, Q&A, ask me anything in the chat. I will stop and answer them. I have my eyes on the chat. But those are your basic structure in Python. So let's learn what a variable is. So a variable is essentially, you can think of it as a name container that allows you to store a specific type of data, right? In Python, you don't have to declare. In some language, you might declare, right? So I meant to say int and then name the variable. So like int name and then set that equal to something, right? For Python, Python is really unique. It's also pretty difficult, so you want to be good at like keeping track of this. And in Python, you don't have to tell it what data type it is. So you can just do name dot 0. So what this does is declares and initializes name with the value 0, right? So if I do, let's say, print, a print statement allows you to print something to the console, right? So if I do print and I do print name and I run the code, which is go up here, click on run, you can see 0 got printed to the console. But the issue with Python sometimes is this can be hard. If, let's say, I can technically like go in the middle of nowhere and change name to, let's say, a string, right? So let's say my string name, put Kevin in here, and I'm going to print name twice, right? So I'm going to do name is equal to 0, print name is equal to Kevin, print name. You can see it printed both the number, which was an integer, as well as Kevin, which is a string, with no issue. So as you're coding in Python, you always want to make sure that you are really aware of your variables and what type you're setting it to. Like, because Python allows you to override whatever data type this was initially set to. So we're going to start with a few things. So we're going to do a if underscore name is equal to quotes underscore name NAIN. So what this essentially tells it, this line tells your code that if I am only using one Python file, which we are, to always, if I run it, to always execute whatever is underneath here. This is just a good habit to get into, especially when you get to more complex multi-file development. So yeah, so the other thing we're going to firstly learn is how to collect input from a user, right? That's something that's really useful. So in Python, we use something called the input built-in method. And then what you do is you set input and then you give it a prompt. So let's say, what is your name? I'm gonna ask everyone. You want to first, actually, before I even do that, so you want to store this in a variable, right? So you can do, let's say name is equal to input, right? So what this does is this collects the input from a user. So it'll prompt the user in the console for a question. As actually, this is way too, I don't know why. Okay, let's try a different song. But yeah, so it collects the input from a user from the console. We'll show you in a second, and then it will save into names, right? So my first question to chat is, what do you think the data type of name is by default? If I am just grabbing a typed thing from the console, what data type do you think name is? And then I will also write a print. So for print statement, there's a few different ways of print statement. We're going to do a basic print statement, which we're going to use concatenation, which is concatenation allows you to use plus. Actually, we're going to not use concatenation, we're going to use commas. It allows you to add a variable at the end, right? So I'm going to put name there. I'm going to do my name is that. Yeah, see, the music choice is not by me. I just want to make that really clear. It's automatically generated. But yeah, okay, so name is equal to input, what is your name? So the second I run that, oops, that's okay. So I run that, it asks what is your name? So I can type in Kevin, and then it will respond, my name is Kevin, right? So what it did is it took this, put it into name, and then I use that variable in the next line down to print it out. Here, let's try something else. I need to see if there is a better way at this. Let's see. So there's apparently playlists in this. So we're given this system that allows us to essentially play restricted music. It's really because like streaming is really hard playing type of music, where else we would be jamming. But because we're playing restricted music, this is the best we can do. It's okay. It's better than what's built in the StreamYard. Trust me. Okay, so we collected the name here, right? So let's write a simple thing. So this is how you get a string. Is actually the answer. Sorry, wait, I definitely missed. No one answered in chat, so that's okay. So what input initially brings in is what we call a string. It sets a string to name so you can print, right? But let's say if you want to collect the age of someone, right? That's like an integer, right? So you would still just do input, because this is what allows you to collect the thing. But next thing we're going to go over something called typecasting. So first your question could be, what is your age? And then once you do that, what you want to do is, if let's say I can still print and go print, I'm going to do a quick programming thing, just copy and paste, do some of that. Okay, so if I do this works perfectly fine, right? The first thing I ask you, what is your name? Dtype. You can use type. And then you can do type. I think you can do type of name. I can do print. There was a question in chat about identifying the type. I'm pretty sure this works. We'll test this. So what is your name? My name is Kev. What is my age? My age is 94. See, it tells you. So you would just use type instead of dtype. Just do type and it'll tell you what type you're working with. But what is really important here is you saw that I got age and name. Okay, so I might, let's say, want the person to answer on a new line. So what \n does is this is an escape character and it's telling a new line. So this allows you to generate a new line, right? So if I run it this time, I get the answer in the line below. And I think that looks just a tad bit better, right? And if I want to do this even more, I can go, hey, I want to make sure that there is a space between my first and second question, which there's many ways to do it. But for right now, what we're going to do is we're just going to add up another print statement. What that will do is just print a new line in between. Yes, I am 12 years old. Okay, cool. So the next thing is, let's say I want to not just print their age, I want to print out what their age is in cat years, right? So I want to do my name is, and then I'm going to do comma. I want to do age plus. So you can do math in your print statements, right? Let's say I want to do age plus, actually, before we get that complex, let's do cat years is equal to age. And like I say, I want to add, does anyone know how much you add for cat years? I don't remember, but let's say your cat age is your current age plus, let's say, 100, right? We're just gonna pretend. Does anyone know, that's not one of my pros, why this would be a problem? Yes, I'm only 12 years old. It's okay. If not, that's perfectly fine. So the reason why this would be a problem, because if you think about it, if we do our type, so if I do a type of age, I'm going to print this out. So I'm going to do a print and do type of age. And then I'm also going to print out print type of 100. So if we watch what this occurs, and I do cat year, we're actually going to not even get to cat year, but if I run this, what will happen is it'll first prompt me for my name. It's going to be Kev. My age is going to be, actually, let's go with 25. And then we saw this error. It says can only concatenate string, not in toString. So what happens is, because this is a string, what it's trying to do is another concept called concatenation, which is appends the string to the end of the string. But that's not what we want to do. We actually want to do math, and that's different. That's correct. It's because there are different types. So to fix that issue is what we do something called typecast, which is before, when you grab the input, what you want to do is you want to typecast it in. And you can do this with any type. So you can do the different typecasting you have available to you, or like int, and you put what you want to typecast in between. You have float. So essentially, it's all the data type we have talked about above. You can always typecast them into stuff like that, right? So you have string, actually, and so much more. So I'm just going to leave that float. So once we typecast it, if you run it this time, and see, I'm going to put Kev. My age is 25. You can see that my age is 20. Oh, oops. Did I not replace this with age? No one questioned that. My name is 25 and people agreed. That's crazy. But yeah, so as you can see, what occurs now is, because now the class is matched to integers, Python knows that we're trying to do math. So it did 25, it added another 100 to 25 and print out cat years. That's why that's really important. So what we just gone over and everything we've done is what we call sequential. So there's different type of logic structures. This is a sequential one, which essentially means it's going down one by one line and reading the code, and then we're processing the code. The next thing we're going to go over is something called conditionals. Conditionals, how conditionals work is they only trigger blocks on a condition. So I can do if age, which is now a number, is greater than, let's say, 100, you will, let's say, print out you're an old man, right? Or old man slash woman. And then let's say, and so if stations where conditionals are broken out to two type of structures or three type of structures. So you can have your if statement by itself like this. You can also extend it with an if else or elif. So what elif does, so like I can do if age is greater than 50, print. I'm gonna do this real quick and then we're gonna do some explaining. I'm gonna just do old for the sake of this, and then what is that? It's okay. I definitely need to disable this real quick. Hold on. I'm just gonna click on this, and then we're gonna click on settings, turn off for an hour. There we go. Okay, cool. So what this is called conditional block. So the if statement is the first thing that I would check, right? So what essentially is your code will first run line by line for line 9, all the way down to line 19, and then to 20, and then it will hit this. Instead of by default running this, it'll first check the condition before going inside this block and doing whatever is written in this block, right? So with 100 and age, it's saying check if age is greater than 100. If it is, it'll run this block of code and print out you're an old man slash woman. Actually, it's probably makes more sense for war. We did that real quick. And then the next thing is, what you can have is not only one condition, I can have a second condition, right? So how condition works is only for each conditional block, only one of these conditions can be met. So if I have an if, it will check the if statement first, and then if I have an elif is additional conditions you want to add to it for it to check. So what happens is it will first check if age is greater than 100. If it isn't, it will now go down to the next conditional chain and check if age is greater than 50. If it is, it'll print out whatever's in here. So the final part of a conditional block is the else statement. What else does is if it doesn't meet your first criteria, it doesn't meet your second criteria, you can have a third, right? You can have as many criteria here as possible, right? So if it does not, so let me do that. So if it does not meet, let's say, your first criteria, it doesn't meet your second criteria. It also does not meet your third criteria. What it does, it will trigger whatever's else, right? So you print, you're a baby. I'm going to do young here, young man, young woman. So let's test this code, right? So first I'm going to run this. It's going to sequentially ask from the top down. So we're going to start with your name. I'm going to put Kev, and then it's going to print a space in between because of this print statement. It's not for my age. I'm going to first test, let's say, the if statement, right? The first condition, I'm going to do 125. So once I do 125, you can see this computed, and it printed you're an old man or woman. You can see that only this block got triggered and nothing else did, even though this is technically true, right? Because 125 is definitely bigger than 50. It's also bigger than 25, and it is definitely bigger than 100. So how that worked is it only looked at the first line, and because it actually found a condition that matched, it just went into the code in between, into this code block here, and executed it, and then ignored everything else, and it just skipped to line 29. So this order was, it started at line 8, ran all the way through line 19, hit line 21, it read the condition, checked the condition, and met the condition, executed the line 22, and then jumped to line 29. What does line 8 do? So line 8 does is it's really beneficial when you have multiple files. When you're programming, we only have one file, so it's less important. But what the basic understanding essentially, if you're running, let's say when I go into a console and run, when I go into, let's say, my shell and run Python 3, and let's say I run main.py, what it tells the program to do is start from line 8 and read everything underneath it. And this is useful is when you learn about functions. Like I can technically declare code above this, like def add, and like I want to declare a function and it's like print happy. So this is technically a function, and I can, let's say, maybe I want to write this one function and use it in a different file. I can use this for importing, but when I do Python main.py, what it does is it'll tell it start at this line and run everything below it, because this is the main Python you're looking at, right? So it says if name is equal to main. So it's essentially saying that if the file you're running, this name is actually a main file, start from this line and execute. And then what that also means, if let's say I run Python and run a different thing, if this is not my main file, it will not execute the lines 10 through 30. The only reason it will execute these lines is if it is your main file. But yeah, so next thing we're going to test another part of the conditional loop. So I can do Kev, and let's say my age is, let's go with something above 50, below 100, 75. You can see that it went with this one because it checked the first condition, it failed. They checked the second condition, it succeeded. And then it print your old man or woman. Okay, actually, I should have just taken this out. I think this would be a bit more fun. So you're just old, you're just old, you're young. I don't know why I did this last line. That's okay. Then next thing we can test the next condition between, right? So if we put something between 50 and 25, let's say 35, we trigger the third if statement. And then if we trigger, let's say, anything else, right? Anything below 25, even negative numbers, we'll trigger your baby, right? So I'm gonna run this again. I can show you. So anything else that's not the first three condition will always trigger the else statement. So I can do age 5, let's say your baby can go negative, can do anything. You don't technically have to. If you don't have a return, what essentially happen is in a function is that it will return none or null. I forgot which one in Python. But it will basically return a null value for you. You don't have to have, your functions do not have to have return statements. They should if you're trying to utilize whatever you're trying to compute in there elsewhere, right? So if I'm actually doing add, right, and I'm doing Let's say the variables are x and y. If you're new, don't worry about this. I'm just going to do this real quick. So if I do, let's say, sum is equal to x plus y, then y. This is cool. Yeah, and then I can, let's say, I can then, if I want to use this outside of somewhere else, right, I can just do return. Then I will return sum. So this will help you take values outside, but you kind of don't have to. Let's say if I only just want to print out the sum and not return it, I can always just print the sum and not return it. Return is not a must. And then going back to our conditional statements, what we're going to need to realize is that for if statements, you can just have one if statement. You can have if and elif statements. So one if, one elif, one if, as many elifs. You may not have just one elif statement, right? Because you need your initial if to have another else if. So you can have, I'm going to do this, write this out for you guys. So you can have one if, you can have one if and many, or one elif. You cannot have, so cannot have one elif without an if, with no if. And you can have one if, many, or one elif, and an else statement. You can also have one if and else statement, and one else statement. You cannot have many else statement. Else statement also needs to be singular because it's what it does at the end, regardless. So that's your condition. Does anyone have any questions? We'll take a pause here, catch anyone up. If anyone has any questions, we'll answer them. I'm gonna go get a drink right here. I have it on the side here. Okay, cool. Does anyone have any questions about what we've gone over so far? That's crazy. I don't actually think that system works unless it does, because I don't actually see Twitch. I'm gonna drink a Celsius. But yeah, if we have no question, we're gonna move. Oh, it does. Okay, that's pretty cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you have any question, we'll definitely go over them. So what we've gone over, sorry, just as to sum it up real quick, if you're more advanced, we did go over functions technically, but don't worry about this right now. We went over how if name equals main, what this statement does, why it's important. We went over a sequential structure, a logic structure. We went over a conditional logic structure. What next we're going to go over is loops. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so what this means, essentially, this is what tells your interpreter that if I'm running this as the main file, so you can have multiple file in Python development. If you're running this as your main file to look at all the code below this. If let's say this is not my main Python file and I have a function, right, where I have other code above this that I want to use in a different file for multiple file Python development, it will tell the file to, if it's not the main file, do not run the code 13 through 40, right? So maybe how normally this will work out to is, let's say I develop a lot of functions up here. And I write in my main, it's mostly just testing the function to make sure it works. When I, let's say, have another Python file, let's say I have another file called test.py, and test.py, let's say grabs code from, let's say grabs this function from main. You don't want it to also run everything underneath here, because then test.py becomes your main Python file that you're running. So what this tells it is, as long as the name of your Python file, this variable is the name of your Python file, is equal to the main, which is basically what you executed when you run Python 3, then it will run the lines below it. If this name, when you run Python 3, is not the same as the name of this file, which is what this name is set to, it will discard and disregard everything underneath here. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna label some stuff real quick as you guys are thinking of questions. So this is function in Python. This is your main statement. this block of code right here is called, it's going to be your sequential, I can't spell, okay, give me 1 second. I want to make sure I spell this right. It's okay, don't worry about it. La. It's too early. It's definitely like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. at where I am, but like it's definitely too early. Conditions. Types. Code. Oh, let me see if I can find this. Okay, cool. Found it. Sorry. Cool. It's a typo in the comment. Line 8 equals function. Oh. Function. Okay, I can't spell. It's okay. You guys feel free to always correct me. So this is a control. It's a control structure and is a sequential control structure. Did I actually not? That would be really sad if I didn't copy it. There we go. So it's a sequential flow control structure. What a control structure is basically just how the code flows. It's sequential because it reads line by line. What we have down here, because we use conditionals or if statement, this is known as a conditional flow control structure. And then what we're going to go over now is the next type of flow. It's the last type of flow, which is called repetitive flow. Repetitive flow code structure. So control structure. So what repetitive flow does is when you want to repeat actions over and over again. Thank you, appreciate it. And those are amazing stickers. If you have not picked on one, come to one of our live events, you'll get one for sure. But yeah, so for repetitive flow, we have your loops. So in Python, there's actually 3 types of loops. You have your for each loop, you have your for I loops, and then you also have your while loops. We're going to go over each one of these. So the point of repetitive flow is if you have action you're doing over and over again, you don't want to write the code hard-coded in, so you don't want to write the code over and over and over again. What repetitive control structure allows you to do is you write the code once in something called a loop, and in the loop, it will continue to do the same thing. So we're going to do an example of each of these loops. So for the first one, I'm going to do is I'm going to first declare num of data. Let's say num of people, right? So I'm going to create a number of people. I'm going to set this number of people. Unfortunately, Python does not have a do while from my knowledge. I'm pretty 99% positive. So for Python, how you would have to do is, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. I don't want to be wrong there. Yeah, in Python, definitely there's no do while loop. What you would have to do is there's work a way around for a do while loop, but there's definitely no official do while loops. I just want to double check. In other languages, something called do while loop, but there's an exist in Python, so we're not going to go over it. But for a number of people, I'm going to say 5, right? So that's the number of time. So the goal right here, I'm going to write the goal too, so we have that listed. So the goal is ask 5 people for their names. Actually, I'm going to do 3. So it's a bit easier when I do tests, right? So ask 3 people for their names. and ages, right? So one way of doing this is for each loop, I will do for number in range. Actually, I'm gonna do this better. So I'm gonna first actually create a list. So since I'm done over a list, we're gonna go over a list real quick. Again, a list is a data structure or a data type that allows there multiple data in it, right? So I can do. So I'm gonna change this to because for each loop is you generally wouldn't use it to collect data. I'm gonna do for, let's say, name of people. Name of people. I'm gonna make a list. So here we're gonna learn a few things all at once. It might be a lot. Let me know if I need to slow down. We're actually gonna change the order of this. I'm gonna start with a for I loop and show you how a for I loop can be done. So you can do for I in range of, let's say 3, where we can create another variable real quick. We're gonna call it num of underscore of people. And we're gonna set this to 3, and then we're gonna put this in here. That way it's easy to change your number of people later. So for number of people. So what this does is, it's the structure for I loop. You're saying for index, I actually just stand for index. I'm gonna write it out so it's easier for people to understand. For I in range of num of people. What this allows you to do is saying range. Okay, I'm gonna write some notes. This is getting a tad bit complex, but conditional a bit more. So what range does is range creates essentially, let's call it a data object that allows you. So let's we're gonna get them. So it creates the object that allows you to go from one number to another. So, well, actually, let's say start from one number and iterate to another number. So how this works is, so if a range only gets one number, so if I do range of, let's say 3, what this happens, it's inclusive, so it would start with 0, 1, 2. So what happens is it will essentially generate an object of 0, 1, 2, and that's what it loops through. So that is just more in-depth understanding. If you don't get it, that's perfectly fine. What I just did, what I just said. All you have to understand is for I loop, you just do for I or for index in range, and you just put the number of times you want this loop to run here. Indentation error. Please explain. Indentation error. Oh, so what indentation error is, real quick, is that so Python is a syntax-based language, which means like your spacings matter, right? So like if this is indented too many times, Python no longer is able to read this properly, because Python 1 is an interpreting language and interprets its language off of syntax, which means like everything should be aligned. You want to check your code to see if anything's out of alignment, right? So like your if should be the thing that is the first thing that's touches closest to your left wall. There should be one tab for each line after, and every time you have, let's say, a code block nested under a condition, you need 2 tabs there. So for example, I'm probably going to run into a problem because this is currently nested right to the wall. I'm going to tab once, tab once, tab once, and that will put me inside my conditional if statement, right? So I'm going to actually just go through. You can also, what you can do is highlight multiple lines and hit tab. It will just put all of them in. So I can hit tab. Oops, I forgot to grab that. So I can just do this, hit tab. No, just tab that in, grab this, hit tab, and there we go. We're all tabbed in now. So indentation error just means you probably didn't format your file properly. Okay, cool. So back to what we were doing. We're going to first do, so all you have to know for a for loop is for I or for index in range of whatever you put here is number of times the loop is going to run. So I put 3 in there, which means the loop is going to run 3 times. And from there, I'm going to go back up here and grab my name. I'm going to go up back here, grab my age. And then I'm going to take this and actually put it right here. I'm going to show you a few more things. So we're gonna really quick learn about lists in more depth. So age of people. So how list works is, like I said before, list lets you store multiple copies, or actually multiple objects or data in one object. So list is the object that allows you to store multiple objects or data types in one object. So for example, I can store numbers or integers is what they're called. I can store strings, like I can store hello, or like just names, right? So names would make more sense. I can do like Kev. Let's grab a few names from chat. So I can do and then I can do let's see who else. You just make sure I have quotes, so I can have a list of strings. So this is list of ints. This is list of strings. Right? So these are your type of lists. So how you access the object in a list, right? So let's say this list would be called, let's say age is what in our example. We're going to pretend this list is called name. To access something in the list, you would just do age, and then you use your brackets, and what you put in here is the index you can access them at. So what is indexes? So indexes is the location in a list an object or data value is stored at. So in this list, and indexes start at 0. What that means is 1 would technically be index 0, 2 will be index 1, 3 would be index 2, 4 will be index 3. I'm gonna write this actually. I'm see if I can do this in a cool way. So essentially, I'm gonna copy this list right here. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna call this list, and then I'm gonna go one down and call this index. So how they match up would be, this will be index 0, this will be index 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, so this would be index 0 through 4. So if I want to access the number 1, what I would do is call the list's name, we call the list age, and then we will put in 0. This will give you 1. If I do age, and I call and put in 5, this will give you an error because 5 is the value here, but the index doesn't go up to 5. The index starts at 0, goes up to 4. So if I want actually the number 5, I want to do age and do 4. This will give you 5. Is that clear? Yes. So again, Python is a syntax-based language. So how Python can interpret each line and how it is structured properly, or where it starts, where it ends, is through these tabs or indents. So they're essentially just white spaces. You can set them at different value, but essentially you have a structure of white spaces. What Python can tell, this line starts here, this line ends here, and what's in between, right? So in other languages, you might have brackets that tells you what's in between this if statement block, right? For Python, it's just that everything is indented by 1 underneath this. It's all part of this conditional block. But thank you for the explanation. Yes, you just have to be perfect. I'm going to take a break for a second right here before we go back to loops. Does everyone have a decent understanding of how lists works? Or is there any questions about lists? No questions? Amazing. Thank you. As we do that, I'm update something real quick. We will be, so this is our introduction to Python. We're actually going to be doing a learn together. I forgot what I called it exactly. It might not be called learn together. Let me see. It's called, learning together, where we all together learn how to code games in Python. So feel free to, after this, play around with a bit more. We only have 10 minutes left of this workshop before the next one starts. So I'm going to try to go over, make sure the list is solid, go over a simple loop structure, and then we can pick this back up at the next Python workshop, which we're going to be doing a learning together, game dev in Python. That will be later in the schedule. If you're interested in that, please check the schedule. But I will need to pick this up a bit because we do have another really cool workshop coming up soon. I want to make sure you guys are ready for that. I'm just grabbing some things for that, so that's ready for later. Okay, cool. I'm going to save this. Cool, great. So let's go over this real quick. So this is, yes, that's one-dimensional list. We can go over two-dimensional list. A list is exactly like a one-dimensional array. Lists are just what exists in Python. Arrays are what exists in other languages. Lists and arrays are essentially the same thing. The only thing is, in most languages, arrays don't self-expand. Python list has been coded. So technically, every language is actually coding a different language, right? So Python list is coded so the array can automatically expand and retract, and the size can automatically change because you don't deal with memory management. In a language like C, you would not be able to just change the size, right? Okay, so for a quick loop, so we just went over lists, right? So what another thing you can do in lists is called appending. So appending to a list allows you to add the data to the end of your list. So what happened is, and it looks like this. So you do the list name of lists dot append, and then you put in here name of value, or either it could be value underscore objects. It could be an object, or it can be a variable, right? So for example, I want, every time I get a name, I actually want to do a name of people dot append, and I want to append in what I just collected from that name statement, name. And then from over here, I'm going to do an age, do a tab, do an age of people dot append. And I'm going to do age. Now I'm going to run this now. So now it asks me what's your name. I can do Kev. My age is, let's say, 80. And so that's the same. So now this is our second loop part. So I'm going to do Kev again. My age is going to be 25. I'm going to grab a few people from chat. I'm going to do 404. That's your name. What is your age? Your age is going to be, you're going to be older than me, 404. This is probably not true, but you're going to be 30. We'll grab someone else from chat. Let's see. Code name Moose. 917. You're going to be, because you're going to be code name Moose, your age is going to be 907 for funsies. Yeah, I like his monthly age. So what happened here is, oh, I should have done this. So that was my apologies. We're going to have to type that real quick again. So I'm going to print out our list, right? So I'm going to show you what a list looks like. I kind of showed on top, but I can print these out. So I'm going to do print out name of people. I'm going to take this inside. I'm going to keep this inside the for loop. What happened is it'll print each time and add someone, right? We're going to do print age of people. Cool. I'm going to run through this real quick. So it's Kev. My age is going to be 100 for this case. I'm going to be Kev. My age is going to be 25. I'm going to do 404. Your age is going to be, let's say, 400 now. So each time, at first, I only had Kev as a string. In the first iteration of this loop, I then do 25 and appended it. So then you see the second time I do 404, their age, their name got appended to nameless, age got appended to ageless. I'm going to do code name Moose, and then you're going to be age 907. It's the final thing you get, kind of why I showed you above. But what you will see here is I accomplished 3 ask statement without typing this out 3 times. Right? I only did this in the loop, and then typed this once. Cool. Is there any questions? I want to do that real quick because we are coming to an end. next workshop it's gonna be the Elastic workshop hosted by Rosendo, one of our great MLHers. Okay, great. I need to fix that. That's just not true. It's not at 10 p.m. It's gonna be at 2 p.m. EST, Eastern Time. You can convert that. So it's basically just right when I end in the next 4 minutes. Is there any question I can address as of right now? We'll definitely pick this up. If you're interested in Python and want to learn more, we'll pick this up at our 2-hour session later for learning together with Python Game Dev, which we're going to try to learn game development together in Python. Should be pretty fun. I have an activity set up. We're going to try to program a game. And we can also answer more questions there. No, for sure. I hope you guys learned a lot. Let's see. So we're going to here. But yeah, any other questions I can address? If not, please make sure to stick around for the Elastic Workshop with Rosendo at 2 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of new learning, and a lot to go from there. I'm going to be publishing this repository into the chat for Global Hack Week. If you haven't checked in, make sure to check in now. It's not too late to check in. And always head over to Discord and you can look at this published repository. I might add to it and finish it for people if you want to just read through it and learn. Thank you, appreciate it. From there, I would say I'll see you guys around next time. My next workshop, if you're interested, I think I'm doing another intro one, is going to be 9 till Thursday, or October 27th EST. We're going to do introduction to Git and GitHub. So if you haven't used Git and GitHub, stick around, come back. I would love to teach you some more about Git and GitHub. But from there, I do want to wish everyone a nice day. Have a happy day, good evening, good morning, good whatever. And make sure to stick around for Rosendo's workshop on Listic. Cool. It's sad, but I'll see you then. Take care.